has been preparing for last few weeks perhaps against the French, because Levon Aronian, we know he's a French player. There's a few French players in this competition. So Fabi got something cooking at home. Right. But now this is a new recipe with knight to e2 followed by c3, and I want to see what the reaction from Abhimanyu is. Who will be the better prepared player? I'm very curious about this opening theoretical battle.
Now this move, knight on c3 to e2, it's not what you would call standard stuff, because you're moving the same piece twice and you're sticking the knight in the way of the bishop.
Right. F4 is by far the main line. Knight c2 is the second most played move, so I'm sure Abhimanyu has looked at this. Otherwise, it would be a failure of preparation. And we know Abhimanyu is extremely well prepared in the opening phase.
c5, c3, knight c6.
Still very much.
Center is going to be met by the moves bishop h3 as well as knight f4.
Just targeting that pawn on e6.
Precisely. So the idea from White's perspective is he wants to stop this counterplay. But on the other hand, you're playing moves g3 and h4, you're giving your opponent something. It's too tempy.
And you talked about that before, that you want maybe to play some b5, b4 with black. And get the bishop on that diagonal.
Yeah, b5, b4, bishop a6. And again, I want to bring Christian in on this, because the moves g3 and h4 may not fit together or work well. The position's closed, so you have a certain free hand, but isn't that excessive? G3, H4, what are you doing? What is this? I've got two pawns.
They are running, right? That pawn is coming to E4.
And I've got a tempo. Your king's still stuck in the center. I'm not saying that this is the greatest pawn piece sacrifice.
Definitely an option. Definitely.
And the black rook on the f5.
Right. I mean,
it does seem like with good play, White is going to be able to consolidate and then make use of his extra piece. Knight g2 is the best move by far in this position. Try to go to e3, but also keep an eye on that knight on f3.
So if I push e4?
Yes, e4, and then
you're warming up to the...
I also want to get out the bishop on c8, right?
Yes,
we talked about that French bishop, we don't like it, and if I can get it to g4.
With e6, e5 to come.
Yeah, knight h2. The engine is very happy with White. But of course, this can be worked for Black as well, and definitely, if you're in a mood to gamble, you might as well,
Right.
Might as well.
An intriguing piece sacrifice. It flashed through my mind. And we do have f7, f6. And if you don't mind, just talk about the current position, because in a sense, things are actually pretty darn sharp here, right?
Now, knight f4 doesn't work.
White's approach, those two tempes, h4, g3, to grab some squares on the king side, I thought that Black was going to break in the center, which he did. f7, f6 captures check. That's an interesting little intermezzo. Knight to c3, knight takes f6. And remember when we were looking at the structure, and Black is ready.
Yeah, look at White's development. He's really behind. The king is still in the center. The pieces are kind of on the first rank.
Right. You'd almost think, if I was White, I'd like to take that tempo back, and I'd like to be castling
really
right
quickly
now instead of h4. And Mishra to play, he's used half hour or 40 minutes. And for me, the move knight e4 comes very naturally. It's not just the fact that I'm pinning my opponent. I'd like to win a pawn. Yes, I would. But it's just that I love centralized knights. And so for me, knight e4 is very natural.
I'm also looking at the move e5 here.
E5?
Can I go immediately? Because if you capture that pawn, I'm going to continue with my pawn to d4.
With pawn to d4. And again, you're doing this because White's king is still stuck in the center, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, you might get a free hand at White's king. Did you work out these sacrifices after captures?
I recapture with the queen.
You recapture with the queen. No checkies, eighth. Well, I'm getting a little nervous.
I mean, how long are you going to keep that?
I don't want. Yeah, I think it's time to go. I'm just wondering, can I be my greedy best? You don't know me when I'm really, really greedy, by the way, Kate. A2, A3?
All right.
You've got checks. I know you could. I'm using Queen B3 as.
So I may just push the bishop to A5.
Okay.
And if you go, yes, now I'm going to capture that knight.
On C3.
Now you cannot really capture the bishop because I have C2 coming.
Okay. C2 makes sense. Your queen's a little bit vulnerable, right? Queen takes C2. Here you could hit me with a check. I'm expecting a rook E8 check because I was just thinking that if you do capture, your queen might be, hit.
Well, I'll just go back. Okay. Queen F6.
And you're more or less somewhat, I guess so. I don't know. I've got, suddenly I don't feel like a moment ago you were pressing an initiative. Now I'm feeling like you won material, but the initiative shifted maybe a little bit in to my side. Very intriguing moment. And let's take a look at me. I'm an expert. This guy was a grandmaster at the time I started.
It's crazy 12. how early the players can be grandmasters in the world. Now I feel like there are so many of them.
Truly. So strangely enough, the two moves that we found attractive, for me, I would have knight e4 almost in a blur, a hand blur. What was that? That was my move, knight e4. You liked e5 for obvious reasons, opening up the bishop, playing for the attack. Bishop d7, probably the most quiet. And I don't think Fabi had to be asked twice. He got his king out of the center and he said, okay, now, and Christian has been warning us, the pawn on e6 is a backward pawn, which basically means white is going to focus with moves like knight g5, rook e1, bishop h3, and he's going to bring as much firepower as he can.
And Mishra just played bishop e8. I really like this move. He's trying to transfer the bishop, the locked bishop on that bad diagonal, now to a good one. Bishop h5, trying to pin the knight and maybe target the pawn on d4, or even bishop g6 if it will be necessary.
But timing, right? Everything in chess has to do with timing. Can you get away with that slow move? Let's say I you know me, I'm a pawn grabber. Give me your pawn. What do you think Mishra, how do you think Mishra is going to handle his business in case of knight g5?
So if I go bishop h4, you're just going to grab that pawn?
No, not yet. I'll go, you attack my queen, I'll attack your bishop. And knight takes d4. I'm very happy to let you go knight c2. You may never get out.
So if I go bishop g4 here?
Bishop g4 here. That's unfortunate because I really had hoped of playing bishop h3 in the very near future. Okay. That's a darn good move. You messed me up.
Because now if you play f3 to try to chase me away, I have even h6 maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a triple pawn from those beautiful pawns on the king side.
You tricked me. I admit when I've been bested. I'll get out of the way. I'll double up against your e6 pawn.
And you give up that pawn on d4?
All right. Knight takes d4. I guess it's just going to be a flat-out trade, right?
I have some knight e2 checks. Wait a second.
Ooh, you're scaring me. Knight e2 check. I can move my king. At the moment, I don't see it. I do have a fork.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't have anything. So I do trade that knight. Knight takes e6.
And then you can drop back with your bishop.
Yes.
I don't think that this is a problem for you. I think this looks perfectly fine for black. I don't think that you should be upset at the outcome of the opening in this particular case. So bishop e8 on the board, Christian, if you don't mind, this position looks quite unusual for me. Any novelties? Or just before we go on break, once again, I really do like to play our respects to those players who are playing really good at torturing his opponents. In these positions, he would triple on the file with his rooks. He would put a rook on e2 and a queen on e1, and then he'd play f4. And that would be the straw that broke the camel's back. He'd win the pawn and grind you down, and you wonder about life and the greater meanings.
I really like the move king h2. You know, it's getting away from all the diagonals. I'm not putting it on the h1, a8 diagonal, the white one. I'm just really parking the king away from all the trouble, and then I'm ready to play f4.
Exactly.
Or maybe even before I go something like a4. Do I want to push?
Yeah, improve a little bit over there. I get it.
Crash in the center.
Have they reached the time controls? Where are things standing between these two, Kate?
Let's take a look.
I don't think they have. Not yet.
Not yet. Mm-hmm. I really like.
This is still only move 31.
And the clock time, sorry?
11 minutes for Fabiano, 4 minutes. Difficult position for Abhimanyu. But
this is
the
not
position is somewhat simplified. Like, you know what you're going to get as black. You're going to play with a pawn down. You're going to play some endgame with a pawn down.
Right.
The question is what type of endgame.
He's accepted the fact that he's going to be losing his e5 pawn.
I'm not sure if he has already, because you cannot take on e5.
Yeah,
no,
this is a
because
trap.
F2.
He wants you to trade it.
Well, f2 is...
so he's trying to put the rook on d5.
I think it's more about trading everything.
What?
Like you can trade rook takes rook and then rook d1 at the end, and you have a double attack.
Okay. So let's try it. Shall we? b4, go away.
So queen c3?
Okay. And this is where you were saying that rook takes, you want to take everything off the board, and you want a rook and pawn endgame after rook d2, which you feel, hey man, I can draw this. This is easy.
Yes. Easy draw.
Easy draw. So queen c3.
And now I'm threatening even rook d2. And then rook f7, and maybe...
Who's having fun, huh? Let's just see. Let's just see what we've got in this position. Oh, okay, we're going to let this one stew, but the...
There we go. As I was saying, e6 is on the board. This is the final move of the game. And
the time control.
Before the time control, of course.
Right.
And it's the best move in the position. Pawn up. The king is very safe on f2 unless you have some... No, rook f2 is not possible, obviously. Rook to f1. The question is, are you in time? Probably not after queen to e4. And in fact, perhaps that's a nice idea to show. After rook to f1,
you want me to bring it? Okay,
yes, we should do on your board so that we can keep an eye on this.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to bring it up.
27 seconds for Abhimanyu. Will he go rook f1?
Rook f1.
I think rook f1 might be losing on the spot after queen to e4.
And queen e4, rook f2.
Rook f2, king g1, right?
I'm seeing 13. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, 9 seconds.
10 seconds.
And he's touching the rook?
So he's just about to play it. Rook to f1 is on the board.
Ooh.
That was the last move. But queen to e4 now. Wait a minute. Queen to e4, by the way, it's forced.
Yes.
Like, what else? I guess you can go rook to e4, but I don't think you want to allow any sort of like queen c2
Or you can do rook g2, but...
Could
yes,
Mishra be thinking about some king and...
No, but now I go rook f4, and that's the idea.
By the
And
way,
he's done it very, very, very quickly.
This must be losing.
Are you so sure?
Yes.
Why are you so sure?
Why wouldn't I be?
Because I've got a g6 sighting?
That's okay.
Okay, if I could play...
King g3. King
f4.
King f4. King f4. Of course, I'm thinking, okay.
But even taking on g6 would be winning.
Yeah. So that just does it. So I don't have king f8. Well, then I'm losing.
I think this game is over, actually.
Wow.
Queen to e4, the final move, covers against queen to h1 checkmate. And if you don't exchange the queens, my e-pawn is going down. E7, E8, promotion is coming. And I guess the only remaining question right
Yeah.
now would be what happens after taking on e4
Right.
and then rook back to f8. You cannot go king f8. You need to stop me from promoting my pawn. So the only other way is to go rook f8 back.
This feels all wrong, though. I mean, when you're defending worst rook and pawn endgames, you always want to defend them actively. Defending them passively, it should be a prescription for disaster, right?
And how is the endgame after, let's say,
So let's go king h3. No?
Good start. A good start. For a moment there, I was just pausing about rook a4. But okay, king h3. That looks like a very good start. I have to play rook e8, don't I?
So I go king g4.
And I've got to activate my king. King f5. Yeah, this should be a very easy win. You're just parking your king on g6. Yeah, easy win for Fabi. By the way, we do have a result. Christopher Yu, impressive resistance, held the game. I wanted to go to the... let's jump into that, because Fabi, should he win, he will almost certainly go into the break, that is to say, rest day, as a sole leader. And yes, he's winning.
I mean, he has 2 extra pawns here.
Oh, come on. Yeah. When we left it, it was the move queen e4 that was sealing the deal right here. This was the key moment. Queen e4 for Fabi. And yeah, we saw that whenever you defend these positions passively with the rook, you can't hold them. And he's just cleaning up the extra pawns here.
Yeah, and that's an easy win.
Easy win. So he'll reposition his rook behind, pick up this pawn, and his king is so active as well, you're not even getting this e6 pawn as compensation.
And you may give me 1 check with rook f2, but I can easily hide on the g file.
Easily.
well,
And there you go.
I'm picking up too many pawns.
Right.
That's the big problem right
Yeah.
now. And I'm picking up b6 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is actually just resignation time. Perhaps we can, in fact, stay with this one until Abhimanyu decides to call it a day. Unless you guys want to check with Sam Shankland versus Hans Niemann right now.
Well,
Rook to b2.
I think
Abhi's not ready to throw in the towel.
takes
Rook takes
b6.
b6.
I have a feeling that, no?
King
And
e7.
Fabiano right now
Tell
is
us, tell us your feelings. You're intuiting what? King g4, I think, will do the honors. King g4,
that's
followed by
already
king
3 pawns right now
Yeah.
to the good. Yeah, king g4, king h5.
will do the honors, and I think Abhi will say, "Okay, I get it."
3 extra pawns, that's enough.
And that's a huge victory for
It is.
Caruana, because
It is.
going into this one, obviously, in a tie with 4 more players, after this one, going into the first rest day, look, if you want somebody to be the leader, if you don't want somebody to be the leader as the competitors, that's Fabiano.
Clear.
Because he's such a good leader. Whenever he's up, he generally doesn't give those extra inches back.
Exactly. Same for Wesley, I think. that
Same with Wesley,
Yeah,
yes.
very, very good tournament leader. Once he gets into the lead,
You want them to be chasing you.
Yeah,
You don't
right.
want to chase them. That's
Exactly.
the thing about these 2 players.
exactly.
Rook to e3, g4.
Yeah.
And Fabi's not even spending any time right now. He's
Yeah.
like, okay, let's just get it done. Rook to e4,
b4.
b4, b5. That extra pawn is coming as well. Yeah.
Very good. I think this is Abhi on your behalf. No,
No?
no.
King to f6. You can continue with b5, no problem.
Or just
Yeah.
even g5.
b5. Yeah, b5, g5, e7, e7 check. But b5, really, that looks like the most sensible. Probably, I will play the move rook b4 though. I'll try my best to make Fabi's life that much
Well,
better.
the thing is, rook to b4, I will give you the b5 pawn. I will go rook c6.
You don't want to push g5?
No,
You
I
don't want
think
to
he
push
just
e7?
wants, rook c6.
You don't want to push e7? E7 check,
anything
king takes
wins.
e7, rook
Rook
takes.
c6, yes. No, I want you to take on b5, and then I take on h6 with my king.
And
that's
then
it.
you want to keep the three
I want to
pawns.
keep all of the pawns. As many as I can.
Good man. Good
As
man.
many as I can.
We're going to make you honorary treasurer of the Pawn Grubbers Association.
Let me have as many as I can.
Yeah, that's three connected pass pawns.
And I think this will probably be it. Yes?
Yeah, we waited for the handshake. We were rewarded with our wait. Congratulations to Fabi. I mean, you know, in these competitions, a single win, just ask Ray Robson, is to be cherished. No losses, 2 wins, even more so.
Let's go back to see what's happening in Shankland versus
Indeed.